I thought I would do something different and decide to cover some of the chapters featured in Space Marine 2. Apart from the poster child of Warhammer 40k, the Ultramarines, you can pick and choose from a variety of chapters, each with their own rich history, and figured I'd start with a couple of my favorites. This video took some time to research as I learned some new things myself, so on with it.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. People are born, they live, they suffer, and die. Rarely of natural causes. Days prior to the fall of Cadia, Dante faced his greatest challenge. High Fleet Leviathan had broken through the Krypton shield, and the Tyranids bore directly for the sacred homeworld of the Blood Angels, Baal. Sons of Sanguinius rallied from the far corners of the galaxy. Complete strangers died side by side as brothers. Yet even this unprecedented congregation could not hold back the Great Devourer. In their darkest moment, the Blood Angels gathered around Lord Commander Dante, a last stand. They gave themselves to the Red Thirst and stood in defiance of the alien, not for survival, for the chapter was doomed, but for the honor of their sire, the great Angel Sanguinius.
Figured let's start this off with the Blood Angels, one of my favorite chapters. So the Blood Angels are one of thousands of chapters within the Adeptus Astartes, and it was originally the 9th Legion before the Second Founding, an event that split Loyalist Space Marine legions into smaller 1,000-man groups we now know as chapters. Blood Angels carry a very tragic fate within their gene seed, which is essentially a template used to create new Space Marines and holds the genomes of a chapter's Primarch. Now the Second Founding, real quick, is an event that was written in the new Codex Astartes by Roboute Guilliman to ensure that no more Space Marines fall to chaos, or at least large numbers of them, as in legions of Space Marines. This is why they were split into smaller 1,000-man chapters. In case another event happened and more Space Marines fall to chaos, instead it'll just be one chapter of 1,000 Space Marines versus a legion of them. In the case of the Blood Angels, they carry the gene seed of their Primarch Sanguinius, who was killed by Horus during the Heresy. Sanguinius was universally liked by many of the Imperium, including the other Primarchs, and even had a friendship with the Silent King, leader of the Necrons, at least according to the Silent King himself. At the climax of the Horus Heresy, Horus himself struck down and killed Sanguinius, whom Horus was unfortunately good friend with, before being corrupted by chaos. In fact, they had such a close friendship that for a brief moment Horus himself questions what he had just done. The death of the Blood Angels Primarch sealed their fate with the psychic imprint left by Sanguinius they refer to as the Black Rage. In layman's terms, it's a mental condition that they can't recover from. When they are overcome by the Black Rage, they are filled with constant anger and hatred. When consumed, they also take a small portion of their Primarch's power and vastly increases their strength and health to levels far beyond that of a normal Space Marine. Basically, the Black Rage is when they see the constant vision of Sanguinius being killed over and over and over and over, and eventually it gets to a point where that's literally all they're seeing at that point. Blood Angels do end up using this to their advantage, and I'm taking this from the Warhammer Wiki. Quote, "Rather than let their afflicted brethren face a slow, insane death, the Blood Angels and their successors will form those of their battle brothers who have newly succumbed to the Black Rage into a special unit of the chapter known as the Death Company. They wear specially painted black power armor, daubed with red crosses to symbolize the wounds of Sanguinius, and are often led by the few chapter officers, notably chaplains, who are able to communicate orders to the insane troops. They are then sent out to perform the most dangerous assaults, hoping for a quick and honorable death in combat." End quote. Now, the Black Rage can also cause longer than normal lifespans as far as Space Marines go. As such, Blood Angels are some of the longest living Marines, not including Dreadnoughts. most notably their chapter master Dante, who's been around for 1100 years. Blood Angels unfortunately have another flaw in their gene seed known as the Red Thirst, which gives them a literal craving for blood. They're basically vampires, and like vampires, their urge to drink the blood of their enemies gets stronger and stronger throughout their years of service, and it also causes them to eventually degenerate into madness. These gene seed flaws have also passed onto many of their successor chapters. The Flesh Tearers and Blood Drinkers are a couple of their most well-known successor chapters. These flaws are in part because, as mentioned earlier, a chapter's gene seed carries the very genome of that specific Primarch. Sanguinius had these flaws but were hidden, only beginning to awaken during the Great Crusade. And here it brings me to why they're one of my favorite chapters. The Red Thirst is the darkest secret of the Blood Angels, but they also fully understand their own flaws, which brings much humility and why they're one of the most pure and noble Space Marines for the past 10,000 years. They take front and center stage in Battle Sector as their story follows up on the very recent event known as Devastation of Baal, as their chapter is on the verge of extinction, only being saved by the Indomitus Crusade and the arrival of the Primaris Marines. The story is very good and shows us how resilient the Blood Angels are. Another gene seed had been improved and began a new line of Blood Angel, the Primaris Marines, and they are the new beginning for an otherwise slowly dying chapter. As more of the Primaris fill the ranks of the depleted chapter, the far less likelihood that they will ever need to keep the Death Company around or even the Red Thirst a secret for much longer. It is unknown if the Primaris will keep the chapter pure and humble as they have been for the past 10,000 years moving forward. The gene seed being more pure and likelihood of the Primaris showing signs of the Red Thirst or the Black Rage might just be a thing of the past, could lead to the chapter's personality and character shifting. Blood Angels are one of the most well-known chapters throughout the Imperium, so the balance has indeed shifted, and it's up to the last of the Firstborns to ensure the Blood Angels stay as they are. In fact, this is actually brought up during the intro for the story for Battle Sector.
The Blessed Primarch didn't just bring relief to Baal. He brought with him the Primaris Space Marines, thousands bearing the mark of the Blood Drop. The Primaris were larger, stronger, more resilient than their firstborn brethren. But to the Blood Angels, they represented a different kind of salvation. The promise of these super soldiers was of an improved gene line, more pure and closer to that of Sanguinius. Away from prying ears, Archmagos Call whispered that they showed fewer signs of the flaws that plagued the great angel's blood. No more thirst beating at their hearts. No more armor to be painted black.
That about wraps this one up. In short, Blood Angels were bound to have a slow, eventual death of their chapter, but Guilliman's arrival with the Primaris have changed that. Bringing their chapter back to full strength meant that all remaining Primaris were sent off to either reinforce the Blood Angel successor chapters, as well as forming brand new chapters, hence why there are thousands of chapters as opposed to the original 20 legions. After a chapter has been capped at 1,000 Marines, remaining ones are then sent to create another chapter. The only chapter that's found a loophole and remains well over 1,000 Marines are the Black Templars, but that will be a future video. Well, from start to finish, this actually wasn't a bad video to do, and I was thinking it was going to be quite a doozy, but turns out it wasn't. Fun to do. So until next time, see you guys around. Thanks for watching.